Welcome to part 12 of the 2018 NFL Draft in Review. Today we will be looking at the 2018 Houston Texans draft. And I would say this is a class that I overestimated. I didn't really give them a very good grade in the first place. I had a feeling it would turn out this way, but this is really one of those. I think this was actually. Yeah, this was actually, I think, just before Bill O'Brien ended up in that general manager position. So let's not pretend like this team was doing so hot before he was made the general manager and traded DeAndre Hopkins for a bag of peanuts. So, due to some trades and whatnot, the first selection wasn't until the third round, pick number 68, and they got safety Justin Reed with that selection. And Reed is pretty much the only player in this class who is still in the league in a meaningful way. And we'll come over to the stat sheet and we'll see why. He's not quite as dominating a tackler as I would prefer to see a safety, especially. But to a degree, this is because virtually every year he's been in the league, he's missed at least one game, except for this past year with the Chiefs, where he picked up a Super Bowl ring, and the first year with the Texans, though he didn't start 4 of the 16 games. So, we'll now come over to the highlight table, and as you notice, I only have 2 of these open. This class is very much not that interesting. You can pretty much tell how a class is going to kind of go based on how many of the early picks I have highlight tabs open for, the overall number, and if there's anyone from late rounds in the picture. There's not. There's only 2, but we'll look at the one who's actually good right here. So that should be, I believe, him in the middle of the back right there. No, I think that's actually left side on that one. Not a particularly good throw, no, that was from before Alex Smith got hurt, I think. But yeah, you can't do that. And one of the classic arm punts by, I believe that is Blake Bortles, who's curiously nowhere to be found at the end of the play. That play on the Denver tight end is one of those plays, and this is what I liked about him coming out of college. He's one of the guys I saw as being pretty good in his ability to really get to the football and do whatever he really has to get the ball carrier on the ground. Sometimes a guy the size of a safety gets dragged a little bit by a tight end, but he doesn't let go. He gets him on the ground. Not as good of a wrap up on Christian McCaffrey right there. Classic arm punt by Jameis Winston. You want to know why the Buccaneers won a Super Bowl? It's because Tom Brady doesn't do that. Dak Prescott, arm punt. Even deflected, that's an arm punt. Good pursuit and good job knocking the ball out there. That was almost a disaster. Another good fumble. He seems to be reasonably good at positioning himself to end up where the ball is going to be if something goes wrong. That's another good quality to have for safety. But yeah, the Chiefs really got something of a winner here. He's only 25. He's got a lot of career left to him. If the Chiefs want to lock him up, they can. They probably should. This guy's a good piece to have. he can do reasonably well returning the ball when he gets his hands on it. He's just this is one of those players that you shouldn't let go unless you can't afford him, and Houston's made a habit of letting players like that out the door via either extremely bad trades or by just not electing to re-sign them. And this appears to be one of those selections. Next up, we have offensive tackle Martinez Rankin, and this I didn't really much see the point in this one when he was there. He ended up with the Chiefs just like Reed did, but didn't play too very much. 23 games played, 10 starts. I don't think that he has been really much in the league since being with the Chiefs. Yeah, he hasn't really been there. Yeah, just checking that to see if he was one of the ones who was letting Mahomes get destroyed by the Buccaneers in that Super Bowl, but no. So, the main criticism I had about him coming out of college was that, to me, back then, he looked like one of those offensive linemen who's just that step too slow. He doesn't have these bang bang react to the guy coming at you. And in the NFL, you can't have that. There are too many good pass rushers in this league to be a guy that doesn't seem to have aggression in setting a block. So it's no surprise to me that Rankin didn't pan out. Next up, we have tight end Jordan Akins. And Akins is another very frustrating player to watch because you always feel like in an offense like this, he should have a bigger role. He should be doing better. He should be putting up more stats. And we have virtually no fucking receivers, and quarterback's not worth a damn. He did just have a career year this past season, but still just a hair under 500 yards. 5 touchdowns is nice, but, there's no consistency in this. A lot, you have these big plays by this guy, and then you just have weeks at a time of like 1 catch, 2 catches, 0 catches, 0 catches, 1 catch. He just doesn't. He's not an impact guy, it seems, and it's kind of frustrating to watch. And that was probably the best season that he's going to have. He's going to be 31 this next season, and that's about where I define most every position in this game, especially on offense, is where time starts to really take its toll on the body. The only position I see as reasonably exempt of this is quarterback. And that's partially because of the rules, partially because of the modern science. Basically everyone wants to do what Tom Brady did now. That guy played till he was 45, and before that, 38 was kind of the average. That's when quarterbacks retire or fall off the map sort of age. But receivers, running backs, tight ends, your average linemen, 30 to 33 is usually that period where age catches up promptly, Swift kicks you in the ass. So I think that Akins has probably had his best season on his career. That's bad for the Texans because they're in a absolutely horrific spot as a team right now. They could use a good tight end. But it doesn't look like that's coming from this class. Next, we have wide receiver Kiki Kuti, and this one kind of mystifies me because it looked like he was just about ready to break out, and then he ends up in Indianapolis and disappears. I really no idea what the hell happened because honestly at the current moment I would consider the Texans receivers and the Colts receivers maybe not even, but pretty damn close to it. Both are pretty pathetic in terms of their wide receiver room. So I don't know how Kuti ended up just vanishing off the face of the planet. And I really don't get it. As far as he's now a free agent. So I don't know where this guy's going to go. He might be one of those ones that stays on the free agent wire. And like I said, it's just, what in the hell happened here? You just, it's so strange to see players like this, and we'll take a little bit of a look at them.
Watson buys some time, throws to the end zone, and it's caught. Kiki QT.
Tracy, that's...
The Patriots secondary is not a bad unit.
The bootleg. They go over to QT, tucks under the... Approaching 100-yard games.
Come and fake it, run with the quarterback.
For that minute in this season, I just heard the name Kiki Kuti basically every time I watched the Texans, and then just poof, gone.
Wide open receiver inside the 35. That is QT to the 15.
And it's not like he didn't have any talent.
Has time, throws over the middle, and the catch is made. Watson, 48. Watson dancing, now throws, and the diving catch is made.
So good out of the backfield.
Watson got rid of it, got it to his man.
Yeah, so like I say, it's just, I don't know what happened to this guy. It's not like he was a superstar that just fell off the map out of the blue, but it is odd to me of like, this was presumably a guy somewhat on the rise, and then just up in smoke. Just poof, gone. So, next up we have defensive end Duke Ejiofor, and as far as I know, they very, very erroneously somewhat drafted this guy as a linebacker. So it says defensive end, but I recall seeing a depth chart back then that said linebacker, and I'm just like, this guy didn't play linebacker. Why is he a linebacker? And, well, we see the result. Nothing really came of the pick. So he's, since then, he went to the Falcons practice squad, and he was, back in November, drafted to the Houston Roughnecks of the XFL. I don't know how he's doing down there, if he's even playing, because I haven't watched the XFL yet. A lot of these spring leagues don't really interest me. I expect them to die quickly, and even if they don't, I expect the substandard product that always gets put out to, in the end, kill it. It's pretty much what's happened to arena football. It's what has happened to the AAF, the USFL once before. The USFL probably sometime in the near future, once the funding from Fox dries up. And it'll probably happen to the XFL a third time by the end of this year. So, those leagues have a certain value, but they're just not interesting enough to watch, and that's what ultimately kills them every single time. So, next up we have tight end Jordan Thomas. Jordan Thomas is another one who's pretty much... He had his 5 minutes in the NFL, but didn't really translate it into anything. Rookie season was the best. And then he bounced around a little bit, ended up in Arizona, New England, practice squad in Indianapolis and Detroit, and now is in, I believe that is another XFLer, the St. Louis Battlehawks. Not sure how he's doing down there. Hope he's doing well, but not an NFL player. Linebacker Peter Kalambai. This one pretty much didn't do really anything whatsoever. Your typical backup, plug him in for a few plays every now and again. didn't do very much with it, and as far as I know, he is now a free agent after a stay on the Broncos and Packers practice squads back 2 seasons ago. So this brings it to the final pick, cornerback Jermaine Kelly. I'm not... Kelly did make the team, but he was pretty much out immediately after that. Practice squad to the 49ers for 2 seasons. Then practice squad in 2 different Canadian Football League teams before moving on to the USFL, where he started with the Tampa Bay Bandits, who have become the Memphis Showboats. And I actually did check the USFL stats, what I could find, to see if I might see the name, but I didn't see him anywhere, so I presume he's either sitting on the bench or is a rather unnotable starter. So overall, I gave this class a B- originally. I'm pretty much going to have to crank this all the way down to a D-. Justin Reed was the only good thing about this class, and he's not even played for the Texans anymore. So it's just not a very good class at the end of the day. Not a lot to be said because there's not a lot to say. It's just not an impressive class, and because of the failures of the regime not too long after that, the Texans have now found themselves where they are, a team whose only really good quarterback in franchise history turned out to be a massive sexual predator. Some of the most malignantly racist ownership in the league. They've, if an NFL owner has said some shit recently, you can bet it's been one of the McNairs or someone like Dan Snyder, Panthers owner, the one that got kicked out by the league. And they've been running through coaches. They're starting to run through quarterbacks again. The defense is a mess. The offense is so sad that, honestly, if I were Brandon Cooks right now, I would be running for the fucking hills. I would, at this point, say that you can either trade me or I retire on the spot. That's how bad the Houston Texans have become. So, that will do it for this week in recording, and I will be seeing you next Monday to begin the AFC West, as that will start the end of the AFC, and we will be doing the 2018 Kansas City Chiefs draft. So I will see you then. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the notification bell, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you Monday.